All right, we'll go ahead and call our Thursday, November 7, 2024 meeting back to order. Ms. Ashani, can you read us out of closed, please?
Yes, I move that the Roanoke County School Board come out of closed session for the following: to discuss the investigation of a student matter pursuant to the Scholastic Record Exemption at 2.2-3711A2 of the Code of Virginia. I also move to certify, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the school board.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Greenway.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Clemens.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pachano.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson.
Yes, ma'am. Item 2.03, action from closed.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to hold the recommendation of expulsion for student number 2024-25, student 04, in abeyance based on the fulfillment of abeyance contract.
Second?
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Greenway.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Clemens.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pachano.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson.
Yes, ma'am. Item 3.01, CTE Glen Cove Elementary, W.E. Cundiff Elementary construction updates. Mr. Jason Pack, Mr. Kamal Khalil, and Mr. Wes Mitchell.
All right. Board members, it's a pleasure to be in front of you again tonight to update you on the status of the projects. We got a little bit more going on there than we had last time. So we're going to discuss the past and current activities for the month of October and the beginning of this month. We'll look at some project photos. And I'm going to have these guys talk about their projects themselves, because they're the guys out there that are in the field watching over these projects for you. So I want you to make sure that you're acquainted with them and you're hearing everything from the guys that are out there seeing it. But before I do that, I did want to bring up that I took a flight out of Roanoke here very recently, and I don't know if any of you had the pleasure of doing that and being able to look over that CTE site as you're flying out, but it is pretty impressive. So I did want to show you what that looks like from the plane as you're flying out. And to me, whenever I flew out and saw that, I was, being involved in this project, I was struck with a lot of pride, and I'm sure you are too. And it just got me thinking that, everybody that's flying in and out of that airport, they're going to be seeing that building, and man, what a great exposure for the county. But with that, we'll go ahead and get into the project updates, beginning with the CTE facility. And Wes, I'll let you take over from here.
Yeah, so what that picture you don't really see is how much that is up on a knoll. Like, everything's right on top of a hill. So what we're doing now is just continue with mass grading to cut the top of that hill off, basically where we're going to put the building. And that's been the bulk of work for October, and would be moving on for most of November as well. So the first half of the month, cutting, grubbing, backfilling, all that backfilling activity was done on the back side of the property, opposite from Peters Creek there, where the back parking lot will be. We basically got all that graded out to subgrade and working over towards the building pad. The other area, second half of the month, that we've been focusing on with backfill is down. If you go on Peters Creek, you'll see a pond that's been installed. That's another activity they did this week or this month, and we're backfilling, bringing all that slope up to grade up to the building pad as well. And with that, what's taken up most of our operations is there's a whole lot of rock. Another thing you can't see from that picture. We'll look at some pictures later. That's what all the blasting is for. The top of that knoll is just filled with a ton of rock. So what they're doing, they did 5 blasts in the month of October in the first half, and then these last few weeks we've been focusing on getting that rock out, what's been loosened up, what we can get out and get out. Doing that with a hammer, a hydraulic hammer. They'll get it to the right size, and once they get it to about 2 to 3 feet, they can dump it in the crusher, and that'll crush it up where we can get it for use on backfill. So they're using a lot of that material in the backfill that we just discussed. There are some more blasts that are expected. We've had a good break in that just because there's so much of it to get rid of. So once we make another path to get to it, they'll anticipate some more blasts probably here in the next week or two, maybe 1 or 2 more blasts, and see where we get at. So by waiting, it just let us clear it out, and then just gives us a better idea how much more we have, which is a decent amount, but we're almost there. Some other activities were a removal of existing water line that basically ran straight across the building pad there. So they were able to get down to that level and get it out. I think it's all gone, with the exception of one little section. We have removed enough rock to start undercutting for the building pad and area D. So that's the back wing of the building. And they're pretty close to having that ready. It'll be ready in the next week or two. And then they'll work around D to A to C pads. Mentioned this before, but we also completed the stormwater retention pond down on the Peters Creek side of the project. It's a real big retention pond that you can see if you drive by on Peters Creek Road. Mobilization of construction trailers, that is almost good to go. We just had our electrical inspection yesterday and got it passed, so as soon as AEP comes out and does our hookup, we'll be ready to go. Between then and now, the water authority will also be out to tie us in. So, and then on the administrative side, Branch has received all their bid packages. They're in review for that, and talking to them yesterday, it seems like it's looking pretty good budget wise. They're real happy with all the bids that they got. So that's where we're at, and once I get that done, we'll start getting submittals. Just some project photos real quick. Backfill operations on the backside of the project like we discussed. You can kind of see how much they've brought this up. This was the beginning of the month, right after we had all that rain. Once they got it to dry out, they rolled pretty quick in getting that backfilled. So it'll sit like that for a while until we start getting our parking lot put in. This is the lower side of the project. You can see the difference from the beginning of the month and the end. That pond has been cut in, and we're starting to backfill and shape our landscape going up the hill. You can kind of see that. There's almost a line here at the bottom where it's graded out. That's all rock. It's hard to see from the photo, but basically all that's getting chopped off, and that's where your building's going to sit. Just some other pictures. This gives you a better idea of the extent of the rock there at the top of the hill. That's us pulling out all the shot rock, which is the rock that was blasted. Our hammer, the green, over on the left, that's getting it down to size, and then our excavator's dumping it in the crusher there. It spits it out for us to use as backfill. And this other picture is just I get out there every morning and watch the sunrise, and there's a plane in the background. It's going to be a beautiful sight. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's not my plane, by the way.
We checked.
We did check.
Just some more rock. This is looking down area D of the building. You can see they've got that undercut. That's where they'll start working on the building pad once they get all this rock out. And then this just show you where our trailers are at. Almost ready to go, just getting everything tied in. So once those get up and running, it really helps the efficiency of the project. So we're looking forward to that.
All right, and with that, we've got Kamal here to go over the 2 elementary schools and get you up to date on what's been going on there.
The 2 schools are going really well as far as the construction side. First, we installed like silt fence around the construction zone area so we can prevent erosion. And in some locations, we put straw bales. Grading and compaction continues, and we'll show some pictures in the next photos, the next slides. And we've been potholing for RCP is like a reinforced concrete pipe, plus like power lines or fiber optic cable. Hydro seeding and watering also on the pond area and embankment. Demolition of the existing building for both A site's been done. The contractor brought in 2 dumpsters, 1 short dumpster for concrete, the long dumpster for metals and other debris. The plumbing contractor made sure that all the fixtures been removed, and the electrical contractor made sure that everything has been cut and rewired and rerouted. The same with IES, the low voltage company, isolated whatever we could. The trailer work at both schools, they're waiting. They're actually done, and they moved in yesterday, which is we had no glitches for the temporary trailers. For the construction trailers, we're still waiting on the electrical power, and we did the pressure washing of the wall of the red brick that existing from like rain and some residue that came down the wall. You could see that on the left-hand side, those, what I was just talking about, those black stains, this being cleaned off. Some of the brick were removed on the right-hand side. The same right here, the brick on the right-hand side has been removed. You could see that the whole building is gone. And on the left-hand side, that silt fence, that orange silt fence to prevent the erosion. That's a compaction testing to make sure we're in 95 percentile. And that's the cleaning truck. You could see the difference between the 2 sites. And that's the compaction and grading. That's still going on today. I went and I saw what they're doing at Condiv. But here the guy is on vacation, so probably he'll be back soon. RSG. Hydro seeding and watering, you can see some grass coming up. Let's see, what else?
I think that's it. The one thing that I did want to note on these projects is we haven't had any delay claims or anything like that yet, so everything is still running on schedule. So.
Have any questions for these guys before we let them go? Thank you, gentlemen.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate everything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Dr. Soltis, real quick. When we know we're gonna have, I don't know if we can relay this to Dr. Nicely, but when we know we're gonna have I think if we're gonna have a closed session, I hate for everybody to be sitting in here the whole time.
Let them go first.
Either that or, because by the time they're through, we're probably zapped, but
Thank you.
maybe delay them, thank y'all, delay them like 30 minutes or something. I hate, and our staff, I hate for our staff to have to sit here while we're doing closed session. Just a thought.
Item 3.02, project updates. Mr. Todd Kegels.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll just go through some of the projects, especially the ones that have been funded by the board that we've closed out or made significant progress on. This is by no means a comprehensive list of all the projects we have going on. I think there's 50 or so open ones. So certainly, if you have questions about projects that aren't in here, feel free to ask. So one we did complete is about a $250,000 project to replace all of the bleachers out at William Byrd Middle School. Those were original to the building, and they had gotten to the point where, despite our attempts at repairing them, you could no longer run them in and out. That's completely done. It's beautiful. It really makes the gym look, almost like a new facility over there. So that is complete, and the school is using those bleachers as we speak. The parking lot out here, we are, actually that information is just a little bit old where it says approval pending Western Virginia Water Authority and VDOT. We now have the comments from Western Virginia Water Authority, and we're just waiting on the VDOT comments on the plans. And as soon as we get those, our engineers will address those, and then hopefully we'll have a final set of plans here in the next week or two. And then we can come up with a paving plan to see if we can still do that now or whether we're going to have to delay that till the spring. Out at Burlington Elementary, these are the old pictures of what the play area is here on the right, and the track is up there on the left. That paving is completed. You can see what it looks like today. It really changes the entire appearance of the back of that building. Because not only that, they finished the the port in place. You can see in the upper left-hand corner of that upper left picture there, the rubber surface that was put in over the playground right there really just beautifies the entire backside of that building. We did have some problems on the backside of the track. The contractor was over there repaving that today, just because we weren't happy with the product, but they fixed it. We worked with them, and they were generous to come out and repave it for us, and hopefully they're done with that now. But the school's already been using the track, and it looks great. This one actually, I think, was initiated by Ms. Fashani, was the activity buses for each school. You know, it was in this year's budget cycle. We ordered them. I think the first day that the money was available was July 1, and so we ordered them. They told us they would be delivered in October. They took it right to the last day. We got them on October the 30th, and they've been delivered to 3 of the schools. I think Byrd and Glenver still have to come over and pick theirs up. The athletic directors are getting trained when they come over, so they have to just work it into their schedule to be able to come over, and they walk them through all the functionality of the bus, and so that they can then train their drivers. And they're all here. We also have ordered some decals for them to customize them. So we had the schools send us their logos, and so the buses on the driver's door and on the hood will have big copies of the logo. It'd be kind of cool. These are really nice. Actually, they're 14 seats. 7 seats, 2 to a seat, and then you have the driver, so you can carry 15 people total. They have bins on both sides in the back for equipment. Really, if you have a small team, or not necessarily even just sports teams, any small group of students that you're taking somewhere under 14, really ideal vehicles. That was, I think, about a $500,000 investment by the school board. There'll be one at each high school, so that's great. I know the schools were super appreciative of getting those. They most of them ran right over and got them because they wanted to start using them
I already
immediately.
heard from Scott Weaver. He said, Cheryl, they're beautiful.
Yeah.
They're just beautiful.
Yeah, they I know Northside
excited.
had plans to use theirs already, and then Glenver, like I say, they picked theirs, or Glenver and Byrd have yet to pick theirs up, but everybody else was chomping at the bit
And I
to
think it's
use them.
smart you're putting decals on them. I think that's cool.
Yeah, that'll give them a little bit of customization there, so that'll be nice. They ought to be here next week. We'll go collect the buses, put the stickers on, and take them back to them. So there's not a lot to photograph here. We did some drainage improvements out there at Glenver High School. This one on the right is at the entrance to the stadium. Let's say how you get up into the bleachers. That's kind of the main way to get up in there, the ramp that goes up. This is right at the base of the ramp, and when it would rain there, they would have a huge puddle, like a small lake right there, that would just sit there for days. They had a issue last year at graduation where it had rained, and so you're walking through a 3 or 4 inch deep puddle trying to get up into the stadium. So we fixed that for them. We put in a drain right there at the base, sloped everything down to the drain, and ran a pipe across the parking lot so that it will never happen again. And they were also getting water backing up into the field house over here, and you can see where we cut the pavement and went in and installed drains in front of each door. So as the water collects in that low spot, it'll now drain out without going back into their buildings. They said it had been like that for a long time, and so they were super happy to get that stuff fixed. We did install new HVAC units out at Back Creek for the cafeteria, the kitchen, the library, and the office. So again, not a lot to look at in terms of the photos, but they have brand new HVAC equipment that should serve them for a long time to come and keep everything reliable out there. Just at the last school board meeting, you approved money for an irrigation system on the softball field out at Glenver Middle. That's done. We happened to hit our contractor at the right time when they had some availability, so they got out there and got it all in and up and running. These pictures are just from yesterday, so they've got it working. The only issue left is there's a backflow preventer, pressure reducer over there. Our guys will come in, pour a small concrete pad around this, and then build a little structure around it to protect it. It also has a couple little leaks that our contractor has to fix, but it is 100% functional, and like I say, they were using it today. Okay, that brings us to our list of proposed projects or requested projects. These are projects either that we've brought up or in most cases requested either by a board member or the individual schools that have not yet been funded. So there's not been any decision made by the board to proceed with any of these yet. The one at the top, I am making the recommendation tonight that we go ahead and, if we have consensus that we need to make this purchase, that we go ahead and put it on the consent agenda for the next meeting. That is to purchase desk for AP testing. So they changed the rules in terms of what's required in a desk to do AP testing, and the ones that we have currently don't meet the specifications. It specifies the size of the top of the desk, because you have to be able to get your laptop out and, other manipulatives at the same time. So the reason we need to do that now is that there's a lead time to get the desk, and there's AP testing is rapidly approaching. So we'd like to go ahead and get those ordered. I think you have $40-ish thousand in minor capital available. The desk will be about $29,000, and again, if we have consensus to do that, we'd like to put it on the consent agenda for the next meeting.
And the minor capital, I don't know where Susan's at, the minor capital will, December is when we will.
Do we need to make a motion to put it on consent, or?
I think you guys have just sort of done that
Just
through
done that,
discussion. I don't think, you've ever done
Yeah, I'm okay with that. That's fine with me. How many desks will that buy us for 29,000?
I think it's 200.
200.
Yep.
They come all put together.
Yes, ma'am. and free shipping, so we didn't have to pay it to ship it, which is actually a pretty good deal, because when I had put this together, the quote we had was for about $40,000 for those desks, but we looked through, found some other vendors, and got the price down. So. Okay, and so that brings us to the ones that most of these we've talked about. They were on the list last time. There have been a couple added, so I'm not going to go into a lot of details. We've had pictures of these in past meetings, but if you have any questions about them, I'll be happy to go through the details. So the very first thing I would request that we do with minor capital once it is replaced is to get our all of the plans for all of the buildings digitized. That's about a $40,000 process, and we've been through exactly what that would include in terms of online access to the plans and that kind of thing, because I've showed you photos. Those things are coming apart, and we need to keep those in good condition, not only for current use, but for future use after I'm long gone. Folks will still need access to those plans. So that will be my first recommendation that we do. Everything else is, it's sort of on your time frame if and when you choose to fund to do these. You do have the money down here at the bottom. If you were to do all of the things on this list, it would cost about $924,000. You have about $1.5 million, including the current balance in minor capital. You have about $1.5 million available after the rollover in December. So all of these things would come up to $924,000. That includes this one for Hidden Valley Middle School, where we kind of have an option to do all of the ceilings in the public spaces that we've talked about, including LED lights, and doing the countertops and cabinetry in there in the public spaces. If you did it all, it's $275,000. If you did the minimum, it's $35,000. Again, that would just be the countertops and the cabinetry. But the $924,000 includes doing the full version of that at Hidden Valley. So just be aware of that. And this $300,000 here, which takes you to $1.2 million, a little over $1.2 million. We'll talk about the Cave Spring Middle School softball field here in just a second. So at Bonsack, we want to do some carpet work out there. That would be a summer project. Mr. Greenway, you and I talked before the meeting, and I did call to make sure we had that discussion with the principals, and that was correct. What I told you was that they actually prefer to wait till the summer, because it's going to mean vacating their offices and their library and their band areas. So they actually preferred to wait till the summer rather than try to do all that with the kids there in the building. Herman L. Horn, it's the same thing. We have some carpet to do there. We'd like to wait and do that during the summer, and that was discussed with Ms. Sansemeyer and was her preference as well. Preschool has asked us for 2 minivans for their early program, ERLE. And that would use current school staff, doesn't require CDL for the minivans, and so it would use current school staff to transport kids in those programs at Mountain View and Green Valley, as opposed to what we're doing now, which is tying up a school bus and a CDL driver to drive those students. The way the schedule works, when the employees come in and then the students, their times don't align, so the staff actually has time to do the driving on both ends of the day versus having transportation provide that. And that would be about $90,000 for 2 vans. At Northside High School, we had discussed changing science classrooms over to facts and nutrition. They're actually already having the facts and nutrition classes in there. They just don't have the right cabinetry and sinks and that sort of thing. That's about a $50,000 project.
Can I get you to go back one to the preschool?
Yes, sir.
Are there any other schools that?
I think
this
these
is
are
an
the,
issue?
I wish, well, I don't think we have any of those folks here. Kim, do you know the answer to that question? The ERLE program, do they have that at any other schools besides?
Mountain View has the 2-year-old class. They have 2 classes that are 2-year-olds only. And so that's a very different population than we normally put on the bus. And I am not 100%, but I'm guessing that's the same way for the other school. Kim might know for sure.
Yes.
Yes.
So his question was, do we have that at any other schools?
Are there any other situations that?
I would have to investigate.
No,
I-
not for the 2-year-old classes.
I could only assume that they would have requested it the same for the other schools if they had that. I actually had called Ms. Shepherd yesterday and we had this discussion, make sure I understood what they were requesting, and she had only mentioned those 2 schools. So I tell you what I'll do
It's much
though.
more cost effective, and it does allow our people who can drive the big buses to be able to
I
do
think it's
that.
worth asking the question
yeah.
to make sure that.
I will. I'll find out and I will email.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah,
The
I'll
location might
email all
change.
of
If
you.
they move the 2-year-old class to another school, it would change. They
Well,
wouldn't
it's
keep
not
that
just
van.
the 2-year-olds, I'm assuming. Is it just 2-year-olds that we're doing this for?
I don't know the ERLE
ERLE
program.
is the babies.
Only 2-year-olds?
We definitely,
Okay.
definitely could use the help on the bus drivers. That brings up a good point, Mr. Bradshaw. We had some luck hiring some bus drivers.
I don't have the answer to that, but I do feel like that they're in decent shape right now. We still always need more. Todd, do you know the answer to that as far as
I think it was, we had 19, we were down 19 a couple months
Right,
ago.
and we have not, I had put those numbers up at the last meeting. I don't recall what they were now. I don't have them in this
Yeah, I don't either.
presentation. But I don't think we've put any more into training since then.
But we had like 3, I think, or 4 in there, and I don't know if they've completed that yet and been brought on. So I don't have that exact answer.
But we'll find out for the next, give you an update at the next
If I'm
work
allowed to
session.
interrupt, I can say with all of the specialized programs we have with students with autism, with students with intellectual disabilities, the van route is much easier for us to find people to do that for, or the aides that are already in our preschool class can drive for us to and from. So it really frees up our transportation department tremendously.
It's more cost effective as well.
Yes.
Well, they are cheaper to operate, and not requiring a CDL, of course, is huge. So again, Northside High School, that was just to change some cabinetry and things where they've converted science classrooms over to facts classrooms. Hidden Valley Middle School, again, we discussed we'd like to do just a little bit of sort of light renovation work in there. $275,000 should change out all the ceiling tiles from the antiquated stuff that we can't even get anymore, that we're actually painting because we can't get the replacement tiles. Upgrade the LED lighting, and then replace their school's sort of unique in that it has sinks and countertops out in the public spaces, not inside of rooms, so it would replace the countertops and sinks in them.
Todd, and I should know this, but are they the next school on the CIP? And what is our
North
time?
side's first.
Is Northside before? Okay.
Yeah, what's the year for that? I don't have that either.
Well, they're not-
23rd?
If they're not next, it
25.
makes sense. I just thought if they were next,
No.
I just couldn't remember which one.
looking?
I'm looking it up.
I think we discussed it last time, they're not. There's
We
Yeah,
did.
it's
They're not.
Northside
There's at least
first.
one in front of them.
Well, and the reason would be that there'll be
Why
a
waste?
number of
Yeah.
years, yeah.
That's right. I think we were looking at 10 years to
I
completion.
think it was 10 years, yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously it makes sense, yeah.
At Northside Middle School, there's an old area down in the sort of the basement of the building that they'd like to convert an old locker room into a wrestling room. That would just require removing some concrete and a bunch of lockers that are down there. Make that a usable space where it's not currently usable. So I actually think that's a good idea. The elementary media centers, we had a board request to provide $2,500 to each one, times 16. That's $40,000. That would be up to them, the librarians.
To them, yeah.
No, sir, that hasn't been
That's gotta be
approved
approved
by
through
the board
this, okay.
yet. Clearbrook Elementary School. So this one, they had asked they need some more small spaces. I just called them flex rooms to be able to work with kids. And they had requested to convert some areas in the hallways and sort of in a lobby area into these rooms. Now, initially we thought, okay, we could probably just go in and do it ourselves and build walls where they wanted. But in looking at it further, it's going to be much more complicated than we initially anticipated. And so the $25,000 here only covers the engineering that would be required. This does not include doing any of the construction. So just kind of be aware of that. We don't have a price tag for that because until we get the engineering done and see exactly what would be required for the HVAC system and the sprinkler system, that's kind of when we'll be able to get a price. So that's an investment to find out exactly what would be required to build those rooms for them. Williamburg Middle School, they requested a perimeter fence along one side of the property, which is if you're familiar with that school, as you come in and go up in front of the high school, it's to the left-hand side of the parking lot. There actually used to be a fence there that had been overgrown. It was removed years ago, and they've requested to put it back up. Now, my only comment on that is that we just make sure we're getting bang for our buck there because, it doesn't secure the entire campus, just putting a row of fencing along that one side. So we kind of need to understand, why we're putting it in and what we get out of it. But that was their request. We did go out and get some bids, and it can be done for about $40,000.
And so that's on the neighborhood side?
Yeah, if you come in and you turn left, follow the parking lot around, and then go up to the middle school, it's that whole side where the band tower is.
Is Evan, did he request? Is that?
Well, I think it actually started with their SRO.
Okay.
And then Evan called me, and so we went out and took a look.
I just wondered if they were having any issues going that way.
It runs all the way down to almost the end of the property, right?
It would start at the teacher parking lot there in the back and then go all the way down to the stormwater pond down there.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Used
know.
to be there, where that whole area was.
Yeah, I
fenced.
remember that there was a fence, at least at the high school part.
Yeah. Fort Lewis Elementary, so we installed a new cooling tower,
Keep me hemmed in.
I don't know, 6 months ago or so, maybe longer. Back in the summer, it was the first summer of the new tower. And the new tower is taller than the old tower, so the brick containment wall around it is shorter than the tower. So the top of the tower protrudes over the wall, so you can see it. It's just not very attractive. There's nothing functionally wrong there, but it just doesn't look very good. $25,000 would actually, it probably won't cost that much. That's what we would set as the budget. We would like to have our guys just go in and do some framing and possibly some drive it, that kind of thing, to pretty it up, hide the cooling tower, because it sets right in front of their school. It's not like most of them where they set out back. This one actually sets like directly in the middle of the parking lot, right out in front of the school. Northside High School, so that building that sits in the middle of the four fields there was built about 20 years ago, apparently by a rec club group, and there was always some understanding with Parks and Rec as to they would use it and maintain it when they were using it, but when they weren't using it, then the maintenance fell to us. And there's always been sort of some gray area as to who owns it and that sort of thing. Well, they would like to just end the MOU that we have with them, give us the building, and let us be responsible for maintaining it. So we've gone out and looked at it and figured out exactly what it would need to make it, a facility that Roanoke County Schools would want to use. And we'd like to come in and gut the bathrooms and renovate them. They are in what I would characterize as disgusting condition. It's not something we want to claim as a school facility in its current state, although it is always associated with the school because it's on school property. So we had to put a new roof on it, and which we've already gotten quotes to do that. We're going to do that anyway because their softball team uses the upper level of that building as a locker room. And so we'd like to renovate the bathrooms too. That'd just be materials. Our guys would go in and they'd do all the demolition, new plumbing, new floors, new walls, and get that into a facility that the school system would be proud of. Williamburg Middle School converted grass field out back there to a playable softball field. Fortunately, they have the room there to do that already, and it's nearly flat. There's just some minor grading and a little bit of fill on one corner that would need to be done. So we feel like that can be done in relative terms inexpensively at about $150,000. That'd be new fencing, irrigation, drainage, grading, and then putting in the grass. I just want to make clear that if we go forward with that one, it won't be something that you're immediately going to be able to play on, because we have to have a growing season. Once you grade that and then we install grass, there's not enough money there to do sod. So you have to have a growing season for the grass to come in first before you can start playing on it. It's definitely something we can do. It is needed. Just don't expect that to be ready to go for softball season this year. Okay, and then that brings us to the totals again, which is $924,000 to do everything that's on that list. You will have enough funding to do that come December 17th, or I put January there, whenever the rollover takes place. But we have to discuss one more facility, and that's here at Cave Spring Middle School. There's a softball field there that was put in either by the school or by, in cooperation maybe through the maintenance department doing some of the work. I think they said 8 or 9 years ago. It's not graded correctly, and it's not sized correctly. So I first became aware of this when I went out there. We were cutting the grass out there, actually, and I noticed where it had rained. That's when I took these pictures a few months back, where it had, this is the infield. And when it rains, it just all washes out, because we took a laser out there and took measurements last week, and it's actually 4 feet higher in the outfield than it is in the infield. So there's a 4-foot slope from the outfield fence down to where the pitcher's mound is. So when it rains, all that water just drains right to the infield. And as you can see here, kind of over on the right-hand side, that's just down to the base dirt and rock, because all the infield mix is washed into the, down towards home plate, and then actually out the fence gates. So it's like a beach on one end, and then the other end it's like rock. So and there's not really a whole lot we can do with that, because the grade isn't correct. You can see the kind of pathways here where water just washes out from the outfield, and you can see how high it looks out there at the fence line versus where I'm standing down there to take the pictures. So I'm hesitant to make a recommendation. I think the board has to decide whether you want to put that kind of money into this field, because outside the fence there's just no, it's sort of landlocked. We took a digital image, we cut it out, and then we tried to rotate around the field and make it fit in different ways to see if there was any way we could do it and get them some spectator space and that kind of thing. And the answer is no. They actually have pretty much done the maximum they could do to fit it in there the way it is. So the problems here are, one, the drainage, the grading is incorrect. Two, the infield mix is all gone, so that needs to be fixed regardless of what we choose to do. There's no irrigation on this field. There's no, there's sort of one piece of drain pipe, but it doesn't do anything. It's crushed on one end. The bases are at 50 feet instead of 60 feet, and the backstop is too close to home plate according to the NFHS rules. So we went out and we measured everything to kind of see. The good news is they do have 185 feet out to the fence, which is what you're required to have. So it is possible to do some things. That's just another shot of the washout that they get every time that it rains here. There's a breakdown on the cost. The irrigation system would be about $25,000. Figure another $25,000 for to install some drainage here and there to make sure it doesn't continue to wash out the infield mix. If you're going to regrade it, that's going to require taking the fence down and then putting up a new fence that will now be at the correct grade. So about $75,000. And these are real numbers. These are based on what we priced over at Bird. So these are real current numbers. They're not just guesses. The engineering and permitting, probably close to another $25,000, and the unknown is the grade work. Grading contractors are very difficult to get them to kind of come out on site and get you, some cost estimates, but we are working on that now. So we're estimating $100,000 to $150,000 worth of grade work that needs to be done at that field. The thing is, you can't solve the lack of spectator space there. Now, they play their games there anyway, regardless, and it does need to be fixed in terms of it being safe and playable, and being a facility on par with our other softball fields. It does need to be fixed. It is a lot of money, so that's kind of where we are. And if you have any questions about any of that, I'm happy to answer.
I do have one update. Susan got a hold of Beth, who said that there are only 2 ERLE classes.
So at
those
two
two
schools. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's good. While we were
a good
thinking about it,
question.
that's all. I was just making sure.
So they've moved one, what they've done is moved one from Mountain View to Green Valley to spread it out for around the county. They used to have 2 at Mountain View.
So, I mean, everything looks good. What do you want from us now? Do you?
Well, I don't think you can actually appropriate any of that money because it's not actually available yet. So other than the one that I asked to be on the consent agenda for the next meeting, because you already have enough funding to cover that. What I would like is to get consensus on the Bird softball field, because if we are going to move forward on that, we would like to go ahead and get the engineering in the works. It does require an engineered set of plans before they'll even let us start putting any fill dirt in the corner, and we prefer not to wait until after the winter to get started. So we'd like to go ahead and do that. We can temporarily fund that through operations, knowing that the board's then going to supply the funding to do the rest
So
of it.
I guess on
going forward.
all the projects, you're just asking us if we're okay. I mean,
I'm just making you aware of what's there, and then we can, when the money actually is available, we can go by and take them one by one, and let you guys actually have a vote and make forward.
well, I think you lump them
So
together.
December
17th.
and when's the meeting date for December? We have that.
The board meeting.
The board of supervisors, I think, is meeting after you guys.
I'm just talking about if we're gonna do
I
some
think
of this
ours
stuff,
is
we
the
can.
19th. That's what I have on my calendar, but it might.
Yep,
School board
19th.
meeting on the 19th.
So
19th.
we could go back and do a list, like you're saying,
Yeah,
and
just,
work session.
I
in
guess for
December.
Todd's knowledge, I didn't see anything that I mean, if you agree they all need to be done,
We didn't ask for all of those. I didn't see anything on the list that was unreasonable or unwarranted. All of that stuff is, I think, legitimate requests.
and
It
and
does
then
have,
going
most of your
What
minor
we can do
capital.
is just, we can talk,
No, that's
all of
fine.
us can just
Sure.
talk
Okay.
between now and
Yeah.
I guess December, and we'll just
That's fine.
figure out what.
But I think the point is we're okay on the field. I mean, we can't vote on it.
We have
can't
consensus that
consent.
we will move
Yeah.
forward with the softball field at Bird Middle, enough to go ahead and invest in the engineering.
Shelley, do you want to take yours any further at this point, or what? I don't know what's. Are you saying you can't get the field in there, or you just can't get it where spectators can?
It's in there. It's in there. We can get the bases out to 60 feet where they should be. I don't have any idea why they're only at 50 feet, but we can take care of that.
T-ball?
Well, Shelley, have y'all been cheating
don't
all
know.
this time? For crying out loud, we want to go back and protest the games.
It's just really hard to hit it out of the park because it's 4 feet higher out there at the fence.
That's right.
I knew there was something going on out there.
Yeah, Lila's a catcher throwing them all out at second.
Are all the, yeah, no wonder why she's got such an arm. Are all the other softball fields pretty much up to date and in good shape?
The one at Bird will be, if we build that one.
We don't have one.
Right, they don't have
Right,
one.
right.
So I think we can do that for 150,000. We make that nice. They got a great spot for it there. Unlike Cave Spring, they have a great spot where you're going to have room for spectators and the right distances and all of those sorts of things. We've actually been over there and laid it all out just to make sure, but it all fits very well.
So you can make the base pads and the infield right for Cave Spring Middle. You just can't do it all with the spectators there.
We just can't get spectator
There's no more
space
room.
other than what exists between the road and the fence currently.
Unless they sit on the road.
Can I throw an idea out that
Yeah. I mean,
at Bird we were thinking about
and
making,
the
because
outfield's
it's,
terrible, it's really dangerous.
because it's middle school, we were thinking about making it just a little bit shorter or something for, we end up having the space, but the point.
There's a range of acceptable distances between home plate and the fence, so birds will be on the short end. It'll be 185 feet.
So I
But
just asked.
that's actually what you have at Cave Spring. They have a 185-foot fence also, and Glenver Middle doesn't actually have a fence out there. They put up a temporary fence. But when they do, they set it at 185 feet, so.
Okay, so it's okay.
Oh, yeah,
I just thought
yours
if you
will
could
be great,
bring it down just a
and
few
Cave
feet,
Springs will
yes.
work. It's just the spectator space out there. So the point of that conversation was, do you want to spend $300,000 and still have a field where you don't have great spectator space? And the other thing that I didn't mention, the benches are positioned outside the fence, of course, and those are back, and there's really no space behind the benches. On the visiting side, you're just right at a drop off. The cliff sort of literally drops off there. It's wooded.
Y'all really got a home field advantage.
It goes into someone's backyard.
over there?
That's right. It's wooded. Well, that's actually our property, so you could fill it in, but you'd be talking about a lot
But
more.
what are your other options? I mean, you're not gonna create land somewhere else. I mean,
That's right.
That's
I'm
right.
not sure you have another option, and if you want to keep them on campus, we took an aerial image of the school and tried to fit it try to fit the softball field inside the track. That doesn't work. You can't make the dimensions work that way. There wasn't anywhere else on campus to put it, so if you want to have them on campus, that's really your only option, and they'll just have to deal with the spectator situation the way they have
Right,
to
and
this
they play
point.
now. That's
Right.
where they play. And people
they play there now.
Yeah.
Where do they watch? Where do spectators watch?
Along the fence line, some people will go there is some space in the outfield, so some people will go up there, along the first base line. So people just make it work.
And now we've taken out those 50-foot bases that I'm gonna.
Lila plays high school now, so it doesn't benefit.
I just don't want you guys to expect that we're gonna spend $300,000 and then
And
we're
it
gonna
be-
have this facility that meets all of our needs, because you're still gonna have the benches sitting right where they are. You're still gonna have, the grade work could be an issue because there's a utility pole right in the middle of at the 185-foot mark, there's a utility pole right there, so we can't, the ideal thing would be to shift the field towards, I think that's Brambleton Avenue right there. And the ideal thing would be to shift it out there, but you can't
Can you
do it
move
because
the-
the
you can't move
utilities.
the
that are
utility
put in
pole.
the way.
There's no land out there available on the premises that we could put it somewhere else on?
No, there's no other
No.
spot on campus where it will fit.
Well, I want it to be safe for our students, and that doesn't look like it's very
Yep.
safe right now.
If you want it safe and you want it long-term, it needs to be regraded, and that's gonna cost $300,000. That just isn't gonna solve all the problems. It'll be better than it is now. It won't wash out anymore. We'll get the drainage piece right and get them some irrigation so they'll have a nice, thick green outfield. But it's not gonna solve, all the problems.
All right, well, we should talk about all this stuff.
It solves the players' problems. It doesn't solve the spectator problem.
Well, with the exception of you
The
gotta be
visiting
careful when you're
team.
on the bench because.
Well, the visiting, but that's the visiting team.
Fall off the.
It is wooded, so it's pretty impossible to fall down.
Got some
But-
You just hit a tree on
Tree
the
will
way
catch
down.
you,
That's
So I guess what we can do is just, we'll all kind of talk one-on-one before next meeting, and then we'll give some direction to Dr. Nicely on which direction we want to go with some of this stuff, and then we'll make a decision.
Sounds good.
Okay. Sounds good.
Is that good?
Yes, sir. And what I'll do is I'll provide you a list in spreadsheet form of all those projects, so if you guys want to talk in between time, you'll
That'd be
have all
great,
those.
something we can have a little point of
Yeah.
reference.
Thank
We
you.
need to get on the consent agenda, that item that you spoke of.
We already got that, right?
Did
You're
you
gonna
get it
add
on?
that?
The desks.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right. All right, 3.03 surplus requests.
I won't bore you with all the details. It's already a long meeting. There are 15 vehicles and 2 tractors. That's a mix of school buses, old sedans, vans, trucks, and 2 tractors that are beyond their useful life and have been replaced. And so we're ready to sell those off. The complete list is available to you in board docs if you want to go through the specifics and review the vehicles. Most of those are school buses. There's just a few that are vans and cars. Anybody have any questions about that? Otherwise, we'll just ask that this be added to the consent agenda so that we can put those up for surplus sale.
Sounds good to me.
It works.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you, Todd. 3.04 CTE fundraising campaign update. Mr. Jason Sir and Mr. Carl York.
Aren't y'all glad you got here at 3:30?
I always told them that was
tell me. Gotcha.
I've often thought that, but just to have them sitting here.
There's peanuts in there. There ain't peanuts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Dr. Soltis. Just bringing an update, as you all requested, from the last work session on the Partnering for Excellence campaign we've embarked on. A lot of behind-the-scenes work right now going on in preparation for the public-facing piece that will come here fairly soon. We've got several things we want to run through today, do a little process update, run through some goals, talk about our case statement, and we'll pass out a sample of that, a draft of what we've worked on. We're down to the final iterations of that, and talking about next steps and what this process will look like moving forward. Carl's been working really hard. Actually, we've both been sitting through a lot of meetings with Kinetic, that company that we have partnered with. And I think we've, 10 to 11 meetings up to this point. So they've been very attentive and actually have the ear and attention of one of the co-founders and the owner of the company. And it's not a small company. So we feel like we've got really good counsel going on. And Carl's going to start off here on the next slide, just going through some of these details.
Yeah, thanks for your time on the docket today. Happy to report we're progressing nicely with our fundraising partner, Kinetic. We're calling this campaign Partnering for Excellence. So a lot of what we're raising is going to help us once the school is open, once it's built. We know we're going to have a lot of need for equipment, technology, and everything going forward to keep this sort of an excellence level. So just as a reminder, Kinetic joined us at the end of August. Like Jason said, we've had 11 meetings to date. We're working on all the prep, the groundwork currently, and we're really appreciative to have them with us. They have a lot of experience, have done a lot of projects like this, so their professionalism and the evaluations, the strategy has been very helpful for us. So we're thrilled to have them. Just some things that we're working on: campaign readiness review. That's what we started with. They needed to get to know us. We needed to get to know them. So there's been a lot of research, history, the mission statement, impact, and then partners that we have currently, and then partners that we want to go out and talk to. And they have a lot of ideas around who we should reach out to as well. This case statement development part, this case statement is really the document that's going to lead us to our meetings. We're going to look at a draft here in a little bit, but it's the document that will arrive ahead of us, that'll explain what we're doing, what we're after, what we're interested in, and it'll also be the document we leave behind. So once we walk out of there, they'll have that to kind of stew over, and we're pretty proud of it. We think we spent a lot of time on that and adjusted it quite a bit. Mr. Soltis.
Appreciate Dr. Soltis and Dr. Nicely's input. Sat down with them for actually some considerable time running through the document, making sure we've got our terminology correct. We know this is going to be very public facing, and want to make sure we have that right.
And that's really the what's, the why, the who, how, the needs that we have. So that's an important document. It's taken a while to put that together. The things that Kinetic bring to us and their expertise is this philanthropic scan for potential. Again, capacity is one of those things, we wanted to understand the companies, the foundations, grant possibilities, corporations, philanthropic families and individuals. That's a hard thing to uncover, but once you know that, and once you know sort of where their heart is and what they're interested in, it helps you sort of understand who you need to talk to and who would be somebody that would come alongside us in this project. So Kinetic's done a good job with that. We're continuing to push that. The next step is.
And if I can make
go
sure,
ahead.
just with that third piece there, the capacity piece is one of the big things that we were struggling early on to wrap our minds around. What's the capacity of the region? That's one of the big things that we have joined up with Kinetic for, is to get their counsel on figuring out what the capacity is, so that we're not coming in asking for too little, we're not coming in asking for too much. We kind of get a better bead on what the philanthropic organizations and individuals are willing to do.
The next step for us is we're doing some interviews with, identified some interviewees, leaders, companies, people in the community that have a history of doing these kinds of things, or we're calling them jump starters. We're hoping to raise a little money right away with those groups, and we have raised a little money already, even before, without asking. So we're looking for 12 to 15, but what we'd like to ask you guys is we want you to be a part of that as well, the board. We want to put you on the interview list and have Kinetic reach out to you guys, and so you can feel exactly what we're doing, what we're asking, and give us feedback on if you think we're doing the right things, if we're asking the right questions. But we think that'll kind of include you guys in this process. You'll understand where we are and what we're doing, and it'll give you a chance to kind of see what Kinetic brings to the table. So we're hoping that you guys will agree to that. What we'll do is we'll set up an interview. It'll be a call. They have 10 to 12 questions. The way these questions work is really we want to know what our reputation is. We want to know what obstacles we have. We want to know what people, the good things they know about Roanoke County. So we're trying to get information. We're trying to get a level set of exactly where we are, and then we're always looking for leads. So at the end, who else do we need to talk to? That interview is not really an ask for help right away. It's not an ask for a gift. It's more about information, asking for advice, and trying to see if they can steer us to greener pastures in that respect. Then major gift strategy is a big part of this as well. Making connections, seeing what people, what companies are interested in. We just had a meeting with a company the other day, and they went right to naming rights. Well, can we name a hallway? Can we name a classroom or whatever? So that's a good sign. They're already thinking about that. And a lot of these folks that we're talking to, they've been through this before. They know exactly what we're looking for. So it makes it in some ways easier. They're looking to connect in a way that makes sense for their business and for their folks. So, and then workforce development is something that we have in our back pocket that's really helpful too, because a lot of these companies are looking to the young people to come in and work for them. So they want to connect with them right away. And the apprenticeship program and some of the programs that we have really help us there. After that, we get right into the personal interviews and the asks. I'll be doing a lot of these. That's where I get in front of these folks in person, listening, asking for advice, but really trying to figure out their needs and letting them know what our needs are, and really trying to understand where they're going in the future. And this is where the ask will be. This is where, once we identify what range we think that they would fall in, or maybe they would even tell us what they were interested in, that's where we would make the ask. And we'll work all those different companies, all those different folks towards the budget that we're setting. So that's really the next big active thing that we're going to be doing. Then we move to recommendations, strategies, and relationships. So we're not just interested in, like we've said before, in just making an agreement with these companies and these folks once. What we really want to do is set up a relationship where we can keep coming back to them and find out what they need, work with them, support them, but also get the support that we need ongoing. So we feel good about that, and that's kind of the way we're approaching this whole thing. And then there's, with all this, there's a lot of reporting, tracking, updating, and then thanking, being appreciative and making sure that they know that we really appreciate them. And that, they're a part of our team. They're a part of what we're doing. And then one thing that Jason and I are really excited about, and this is a little bit of an uphill climb, but we really want to go after an endowment, to start an endowment. We always have needs. And for me, when I think about this, I think I refer to this as forever money. if they give us money for the endowment, then their name will always be out there. We'll always be able to, without touching the corpus, we'll always be able to contribute some of their money towards helping us, and they'll be there forever. So, we'd like to get money for two different pots here, but that's one thing that we're interested in, and then also fundraising moving forward. One of the things that we have coming up is a meeting with the Roanoke County Education Foundation. This is an important collaboration. We're hoping that we can work together. We really need their assistance. They're a 501c3. A lot of companies, that's how they like to work, is through a 501c3. So that's something we're exploring. And then gift management, compliance, and then alignment. There's a lot of, when you're collecting money, you've got to do a lot of things a certain way to be able to make sure that you're able to handle it properly.
Yeah, and Kinetic really emphasized the importance of trying to work through a 501c3, that the companies really want to see that. When you go and make an ask, one of the first questions a lot of them will ask is it going to be run through a 501c3? And if the answer is yes, you can proceed with the conversation. If no, you're probably done. So we're really working towards that, and hopeful that we can make some headway there. But our ambition is not to start our own, is to work with the Education Foundation in that capacity. And like Carl said, it might take some thinking outside the box, but looking forward to that meeting with Penny Hodge and coming up, I think, in a couple Mondays.
The next thing is the case statement. So we have a draft that we can
Jess, can you pass that around?
Yes, I can.
pass around. It is a draft. It's not for public consumption yet, but it's pretty close. We feel pretty good about it. Again, Dr. Soltis and Dr. Nicely have been very helpful in that. We'd love to hear your feedback as well, but that is the document that we're using when we go in and really sort of outlines exactly what we're after and what we're trying to get done. You will see a budget in the back, so we've worked with Kinetic on a number that we want to go after. That's over 2 to 3 years, but I can also guarantee you that as we work on that, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep raising as much as we can moving forward. But we're hoping that that's a good target. That's what they've advised us that they think is out there, and there may be more.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
And this will be the public-facing document that we take with us when we meet with companies, especially with the work Carl's going to be doing to reach out. Right now, just so you know, it's been put out. Thank you for Susan's help getting it to the Bond Commission. We're making sure that the verbiage is correct. We're not running afoul of any issues due to the bond issuance for this project. We were made aware that could, depending on terminology and our angle there. So we're having that vetted in that aspect as well. So I feel like that's probably for the final straw for us being able to get this thing put out for publication. So we're excited about it and think it looks real sharp.
There's a lot of great photographs in there, thanks to Chuck.
Yeah.
He takes a lot of great photos, and so, we didn't have to go out and hire somebody to do that. Chuck's got a lot of really great photography for us, so we appreciate him. Next steps, scheduling and conducting the personal interviews. And then as we're doing all this, we're always thinking about the campaign and the plan and the execution. So we're building towards a plan that we can execute, going forward. But we're trying to raise money as we're going along, but we need to we don't want to rush it, but we're in a hurry. So it's a combination of those two things.
And so just as we go to the last slide, appreciate your support and enabling us to partner with this Kinetic group. They've been very helpful. I think we're getting a lot of very wise counsel out of them. One of the things I just want to leave you with is by the end of the process with Kinetic, we plan on having them come give a report to you on the results of the wealth screening, making some recommendations, and leaving us with a plan of action, and really coming to let you know what they found through all the work they've done with us. So Kinetic will come and give a report at some point, I would think, in the early to mid-spring.
Sounds good. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is really nice.
Been helpful and informative, and If you have any
The
questions.
new logo.
Oh, yeah, the nice,
Yeah, that's.
like
You
the,
mentioned that.
the, don't show it on screen, but yes, that's the new logo.
So the one thing, though, I will leave you with is we do want to include
Yeah.
you guys in the interview.
See it from Chuck
We
now.
think that'll be great, and
Oops.
it'll keep you involved, and you may give us some great feedback, too, so. we-
And that interview is the front portion, like, it's not what we're gonna go to a lot of folks with. It's just a select few. We're gonna probably, 20 to 30 folks might get that interview. But we feel like that'd be real good for you to get an eye for
Do you
what
have an
happens.
expectation of implementation?
As far as
Start date?
timing, yeah.
I mean, I know nothing.
Right, so we have the Kinetics help up until the end of January. By then, we should have all our ducks in a row, and we should be started before then, contacting companies and individuals in a direct manner.
With some companies, and I know from my personal experience, some of it's timing. Some of them, a lot of this is in their budget, and you want to catch them just at the right time before they make all those decisions, before they spend all their money. So we're not slowing down at all because we're approaching it like the thing's going to open tomorrow. But we also don't want to rush certain people. You'll end up running off would-be supporters. So we don't want to do that either.
And it's not going to be a several-month process. This, like Carl said, we anticipate this being a multi-year process of being able to extend it and meet people and companies at their timing. So it's going to take a while to contact all these folks we're listing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's exciting to see who you're going to get.
Yeah.
And I think that creates the opportunities for the students as
Absolutely.
well. And
Yes.
making the connections with the businesses, it all just kind of works full circle.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3.05, Employee Extended Work Plan for 2025-2026, Mr. Jim Bradshaw.
Good evening. Annually, we bring to you the extended work plan for the upcoming year, and the plan that we put forward again this year is pretty much exactly the same with a couple little tweaks I'd like to bring your attention to for your approval. The goal of this plan obviously is to put our highly qualified, our most educated, most experienced substitutes in place, and this plan allows us to bring back those retirees, which are so vital to our success. Top thing, obviously, is they have to be eligible to retire from VRS. The second line we'd like to eliminate because, truthfully, there really is not a need for the age requirement, because if they're eligible to retire from VRS, there's no need for us to set an age limit for this. So we'd like to see that eliminated. The second thing,
Chuck, can you make it bigger?
we're eliminating the at least 55 years of age, because we have some retirees now that are retiring at 53, 54, and it takes them out of this plan. Well, so now we're losing them for 5 years to
they
substitute in our
age
buildings.
out,
And they can still retire, so there's no need to have that. The next thing is we're always trying to recruit experienced teachers. So if we bring them in the last few years of their career, we're finding that some of our teachers are not able to do this because they're only with us for 7-8 years. Most of them are definitely 5. So we'd like to reduce that from a 10-year requirement to a 5-year requirement. Again, we're trying to open up to more of our retirees. You see the rest of them, they would have to respond by, or let me know by January 31st. There's no change there. And they would be, they're not eligible, of course, if they're on an improvement plan when they retire. The other big change, and this has not been changed in a long time. I have no idea how long it's been, but we'd like to see the school board contribute $3,000 annually to our retirees to help them with their health care compared to $2,500. And again, that figure has been $2,500 for at least 20 years. I don't know how far back it goes past that, but I know that. And right now we have annually about 150 retirees that are in this program. So if you add that $500 to that many, it gives you about a $75,000 difference.
So that's kind of like the sick day or the end of the,
What
accrued days. It hasn't been looked at for a long time.
Yes, that's exactly right. And we're trying to update some of these things because we're trying to be relevant where employees want to either stay with Roanoke County or come to Roanoke County. And you've got to be creative. And so that's what we're working on.
Do they pay what the working person, like the full-time working person pays?
They do.
Okay.
Yes, they do. That's correct. So this helps offset that for them when they retire.
Fully support it.
Yep. And then the rest of the plan is identical to what we've run ever since I've been here, where they get up to 80% of their contracted days or a 5-year period. We do allow in certain cases, maybe sometimes where teachers we need them back to do long-term subs or hard to fill areas or things like that, that we allow them to use more of that time. And so it shortens to 5 years, but they still get the benefit for 5 years. The entire policy is below, which I think you all have copies of the edited, which changes this right here, the final one, then explains that. So we would recommend that this be, if you're okay with it, be put on consent agenda for the next meeting, so we can move forward and get it out to our retirees so they know what the plan's gonna look like for them.
Do you feel like that's enough? I mean, that makes an equitable difference for them?
I do. I feel like right now it's a good start. Let's see what it does. I think this is a great thing for us to look at, and it certainly is a step in the right direction, Mr. Hudson.
I agree with you, Brent.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I mean, that it's equitable.
And
'cause
I'm
I know
gonna
there's
keep
been-
looking. You know I do, because I keep trying to be creative and come up with ways to either incentivize our employees that want to come here, stay, or,
And this is a kind of along with this conversation, maybe for budget for this year, I'd like to see us continue the thought process of, I think we went from $35 to $50 a day I'd like to see us at very incrementally small, maybe $5 a year or $10 a year, to try and get that somewhere in my mind, that you don't have, if they have 100 days, we pay them somewhere.
yeah, we've gone to that percentage, which is gonna be great. And every time, you gotta remember the percentage, which is why we did that, when you all give raises to those employees, it increases that dollar amount.
So we're taking
already.
that up
We're doing
to-
a percentage instead of
Yeah,
a
we
flat fee.
changed that
Yes,
so that we
did.
wouldn't forget about it.
You're exactly
Was it
right.
like 1997,
Yes.
1993?
I think it was 93 was the
done.
last time we made that
Oh,
change.
that was a
So,
good year. Seems like yesterday.
Yeah, it was. It's
So,
hard to believe.
okay, good, yeah.
But it's a percentage because of the fact that it's gonna automatically increase as hopefully we continue to, increase our salaries as we move forward, so.
Yeah, that's good. And I'd even say, a little bit more, but I'd like to see it get a little more equitable so that we don't have the teachers,
I mean, it's
leaving
kind of
and.
hard without having the figures in front of us.
It
but,
is.
I mean, I don't know how much health insurance off the top of my head costs in a year, but probably enough to make me sick.
Unfortunately, too much.
Enough to make me sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, 30-year adjustment, that was a good one.
Yes.
On both of these, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, go ahead and put that on
Yeah,
consent.
absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, let's look at that every year because I know we get increases. Let's start looking. I agree with Tim. I think we should look at that every year and bring it to the table.
And the more we go through it, the more we're gonna know what the budget, impact is, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for staying on it.
Item 3.06, recommended policy changes. Dr. Jamie Soltis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as I continue to audit our policy manual and look for things, I'm going to be bringing you guys a whole lot of policies that haven't been updated in the 5-year requirement. But one that came to our attention pretty quick was we had a policy 3.14, which was a Title IX policy, which conflicted with policy 3.30, which included Title IX in it. And that's where we had a VSBA policy and our own local policy. The VSBA policy was being updated, but the cross-reference to the Title IX policy was not. So I'm asking for permission to delete the Roanoke County Title IX policy, which no longer follows the updated Title IX that got updated in 2020. So I'm asking to delete that and with permission move that to consent to do that in the next meeting. And then the other policy that I wanted to talk about, an admin reg, is 6.43, which has to do with field trips. And so what we would be doing there is adding a new section called non-instructional activity trips, which each grade level in a school would be allowed one non-instructional activity trip per year during the school day. And these things pretty much are going to happen at elementary and middle. It's not going to be a grade level for high school. Those are more class-centric. These trips should promote student engagement, team building, or cultural experiences, so they do need to have some kind of meaning to them. And while not directly tied to classroom instruction, these trips should still provide valuable learning opportunities for our students. So it's an instructional, but yet doesn't have to be tied to the content. So I would ask that we can move that to consent. And then the last one, The admin reg for field trips, we just have to, if we're updating the policy, you got to look at the admin reg to see if it's going to change anything of that. So we would add in the terminology for the non-instructional activity trip. And then the other thing that probably needs to be changed in this policy is, right now on our field trip admin reg, it states that for any overnight trip, you have to hire a security guard who watches from midnight to 6 a.m. in the hallways. Well, hotels don't have them anymore. A lot of hotels don't. This came about from a Glenver field trip where Mr. Murray, for athletics, it wasn't really a field trip, it was an athletic trip, trying to secure security, but now that hotels have cameras, they don't hire third party, they don't work with you to get a third party security company. So, although in my personal opinion, the cameras aren't enough because they're going to watch to make sure nobody's coming in, but they wouldn't say anything if we have kids that are hotel guests that just leave the building. So we would say that you either have to hire security guards or have chaperones actively monitoring the hallways where students are staying during that time frame. So basically the chaperones would be responsible for taking some shifts and doing it. So that would be my recommendation, that we move all three of those things to consent agenda.
I'm good with that.
Good with that too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Item 3.07, 2025-2026 registration course guide.
Yes, sir. So Mr. Riley, who would normally be doing this, is at the AMLE conference where two of our schools are being recognized as schools of distinction. And actually, Dr. Nicely has been texting me pictures of our banners. But I would like to, as part of the annual review process, and I did this when I was in Mike's job before too, every year they go through the registration guide, working with Sean and working with all the instructional supervisors to make changes to the registration guide, because no matter what you do, you're always going to find a typo, you're always going to find something. And then we also look at programmatic changes. So the copy that's in board docs has all the highlights, that has all the minor changes. Of course, he updates his letter every year, right? But I did want to go over some of the programmatic changes. So number one, and we're really excited about this, and I personally excited about this because I was here on the ground floor when we started working on the Opportunity Ready stuff, is to be able to offer the Opportunity Ready graduation seal. We are introducing a new graduation seal called the Opportunity Ready Seal. This seal will be awarded to students who successfully demonstrate skills aligned with the Roanoke County Public Schools Opportunity Ready graduate profile. Key points will include this. Students will have to present curated evidence during their senior year, showing that they've mastered these skills. Evidence will be evaluated using a specific performance outcome criteria. And then the criteria aligns with the communication, collaboration, and critical thinking ends of our Opportunity Ready graduate portfolio or profile. So with your permission, hopefully we can issue that. We're not going to put the sticker or the seal on the diploma. We're going to hand it to the kids, and then it's up to them if they want to actually attach it to their diploma or not. Then also another programmatic change is in art at the middle school, 8th grade. So currently we offer crafts, and we offer as an 8th grade elective. And what the staff is recommending is that we add a semester and year-long options for Art 8, which will incorporate crafts into the art program versus having it all specific crafts. Gives the kids a lot of more opportunity to explore different mediums of art versus just doing crafts. So, and then lastly, I'm super excited about this because I'm a little bit of a math nerd, but we are looking at adding a data science course where students will apply mathematical concepts to real-world data using Python to explore statistical methods, data visualization and predictive modeling. And through hands-on projects, they'll actually learn how to use data and math to make decisions. The state piloted it last year in some other divisions. It's an amazing course.
I was going to say, it sounds awesome.
It's an awesome course.
What grade was that for again?
So it would be in grades 10 through 12.
10 and
You would
12,
have to
okay.
have geometry as a prerequisite to be able to do it. And although no programming skills are needed, it obviously would help, right?
Yeah, sure.
But definitely a growing field, and definitely something that would really help our kids be prepared for future jobs. And then the last programmatic update is the Navy National Defense Cadet Corps class adding a 4th-year course. So we've had it long enough to be able to have the 4th-year course. Right now we stop at year 3. Now we have kids ready to move into to the 4th. And I can't think of any better program.
Were we able to hire an instructor for that?
We were super excited.
Okay, great.
Yeah, they told us about it.
It went well according to
It
Mr.
was serendipitous how we got him.
Yes, it was a
Great.
miracle. So, am I allowed to say that? Miracle. So at the end of the day, these are the recommendations I would ask that if we could move those to consent agenda as well, so we can start to begin the registration process, which it seems like we just started the school year, but as soon as you start registering and preparing for the next year, so. With your permission.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds
Everybody
good.
Thank you very much.
All right. Anybody have anything else? All right. Meeting adjourned.